All right, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you everybody for coming. We're very excited to showcase today the innovative products that we're going to be demoing next week in Nashville. So whether you're going to be there or not, we're really excited to go over this with you and also hopefully get some feedback and some conversation at the end. My name is John Deneen. I'm Vice President of Growth and Marketing at Vocareum. We're going to start going through a little bit about Vocareum, and then I'm going to hand it over to my colleagues, David, Portia, and Mary, who will do the live demonstrations. So for those of you who are not familiar with Vocareum, we've been around for over a decade, and we deliver hands-on labs in real-world environments, letting learners go directly from a learning management system or through SSO directly into real SaaS products. So for example, we are the infrastructure for a program called AWS Academy, where we partner with Amazon and they get curriculum and credits out to thousands of institutions around the world. And instructors and learners go directly from their learning management system into a fully spun up AWS account. No sign-ons, no billing, and we put budget and fraud controls around this. Because I think, as everybody knows, with modern day technology, you're not going to learn how to be an expert just by reading. You really need this hands-on experience. We deliver this for Azure and Databricks and Google Platform, Jupyter Notebooks, VS Code, and more. And we'll talk about that as we continue. We've scaled across 4 million learners, 7,000 institutions around the world, the largest ed tech partners, and more. So today, quickly go over the company, and then we'll get a demo of our AI Compass personalized learning platform, our AI Gateway, and our digital backpack. And as I mentioned, hopefully we'll have time for some questions at the end. So these are just some of the institutions around the world that we support. And some of our ed tech partners, both OPMs, enterprises, as well as learning management systems. We can integrate with all of them to deliver our platform. And as you can see, we are fully integrated across the board, from higher education, standards bodies, workshops and hackathons, training and certification, and more. And we are really, really proud of what we do. We're proud that we're able to help people learn. We're proud that we're able to help this scale. And we're proud of our reputation and what folks have to say about us. This is a quote from the Vice President of Databricks Learning and Enablement, who we've been working with for some time. And they leverage us across all of their learning modalities. Another one from Udacity, one of their technical content developers that we work with. So they create the content and then they leverage our platform to deliver the hands-on instruction to their learners, something that we know is incredibly important. And while there are lots more of these quotes, and you can go to our site to see them and check out case studies, this is another phenomenal one from Miami-Dade College, really highlighting what we are able to do and bringing together this seamless learning experience. And then this, something I'm particularly proud of, is our partnership with the National Science Foundation. We've joined up with giants like Microsoft and OpenAI, Databricks, Anthropic, and more to deliver our AI notebook for research at scale through this program. Okay. So I talk a lot about our platform, but what does that really mean? What are we delivering? It's an incredibly powerful platform. And, I'm not going to go through all of these, but we're happy to, set up demos, further time, etc. But really, any AI resources and cloud resources that learners need access to, we can provide through our integration, providing budget controls in a sandbox, making sure that everyone has the access they need without the limitations or burdens of having to go and sign up themselves or an instructor having to do it. We'll go over our integrated personalized AI tutor. And we have a phenomenal number of features that we've built over the years, like team projects, peer review, secure exams, leaderboards, and more. And as I mentioned, with budget control and LMS integration, or you can do it through secure sign-on and providing analytics so that instructors know what's going on in real time with their students. And so, how can these be delivered? We talked about through Jupyter Notebooks, VS Code, Everything has pre-installed libraries, it's all browser-based, and can be done with single-click access. We support all the major cloud platforms, including Databricks for cloud engineering, DevOps, databases, and more. And we also support programming and IT. So really anything technical that you're trying to teach, we make it easier for the instructors, the administrators, and the students so that everybody can focus on what's really important, which is teaching and learning. The Vocareum AI Notebook is what I had mentioned previously with regards to the National Science Foundation. This is a Jupyter-powered environment that we built from the ground up for scaled education. It's used in the University of Michigan, by the CFA, and many, many more. It's browser-based, so there's no downloads. Students don't have to worry about which package, which configurations, etc. You can leverage Python and R. You can give generative AI access. You can manage generative AI keys. And again, give single-click access to GPUs in a budgeted and controlled manner. All right, so we're getting ready for the important part of the show, which is really going through the innovations that we'll be demonstrating at EDUCAUSE. First, we'll go through the AI Compass, our personalized AI platform that we first launched with UCSD and have significant results, which you can see on our website. Then we'll get into our AI gateway. Incredibly important. How do you deliver access to AI, whether it's GPUs, LLMs, prompts engineering, or if it's API keys, etc. And then finally, our digital backpack. One place for students to get access to all of the learning applications they need from their LMS, with security and budgeting, and everything else you'd expect baked in. So now I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and I'm going to hand it over to Portia to start her demonstration.
All right, thank you so much. So I'm going to be showing Compass, which is our personalized learning platform. I'm going to start over here with the student view. So this is what really anchors Compass. It's a knowledge graph, and in this case, it's been populated with students' proficiency level. So instructors are able to generate these graphs, generate questions that go along with it with AI assistance, and then students make their way through these pathways, reaching proficiency in each level towards course outcomes. So here they can see curriculum relationship, description, and then we can navigate back to the questions that students are working through. So there's two deployments of this. We have mastery learning and personalized learning. One is more student-driven, one is more AI-driven. So either students determining their own pathways or maybe independent learners, or AI making those determinations based on course goals. And then on the left, we have our built-in virtual tutor. So this virtual tutor does a couple of things. It does grading. So here we can see a verified explanation that is given because I have it configured to show up after I get the question correct. It also provides personalized feedback. So if I got this incorrect, I can maybe pinpoint some of those common mistakes, provide feedback. And then, of course, you can also use it as a tutor. So we have hints as part of the generation process. That's where you see this verified tag. And then we also have some quick action buttons. So I just asked for some extra help. And then based on instructor prompts, the tutor will reply. So let's do a live demo. We're probably all concerned. Can the tutor just give me the answer? And in this case, the tutor is given the entire context of the problem, the pre-generated and vetted solution, the student's knowledge level, so where the student is on these progress maps, as well as an instructor side prompt. And in this case, I've configured the tutor to explain that the tutor can't give the final answer, but I can help you. I can do some steps, ask a follow-up question. In this case, the tutor is giving me a next step of what I should try as the student. And then if I give an incorrect answer, the tutor will also give me feedback there. We have a lot of things built in to help make math learning more, easy and less apprehensive for students. So speech to text, file uploads. This also includes mobile uploads, so students can scan this QR code and then submit pictures of handwritten work. That will all then convert to text, as well as all of those features being here in the tutor to make it easier to converse. So that's a very, very brief overview of the student side. Switching over to the instructor side, here we can see some of these configurations. So the instructor is able to determine the learning type, set up the virtual tutor instructions, and then also determine all of these different layers of support. So when should students be able to use the virtual tutor? When should they be able to get hints in the explanation and AI feedback? In this case, you heard a lot about our integration with AWS and our partnership with AWS Academy. We also have integrated Cloud Labs directly within Compass. So if I go back as a student, and then let me navigate over to Cloud Labs. Oh, that's a sneak preview of what you'll see next. We have, integrated timed practice exams for things like Cloud Practitioner. And then we also have integrated lab environments where students can launch fully spun up AWS accounts and then solve, get kind of combine that experiential learning and hands-on learning piece. So here I've already submitted, this is a VCP lab objective, and you're able to directly launch into the AWS console and then submit your answer here to get AI feedback. So how is all of this made as an instructor? We recognize that this is, kind of a lot. It's all kind of anchored on these concept graphs here. And having instructors, generate these, we have a lot of different options. So we have manual mode. We also have built-in AI mode, which can include uploaded file context. So if you have a syllabus, if you have an open source textbook that you can use, you can upload all of those resources to help generate these graphs and then do some manual edits. From there, the flow proceeds into questions. So in this case, you can generate questions and they go into our pending bucket right here. Here's an example of a multiple choice question with pre-generated feedback as well. But we also have other options, such as uploading a question list. So if you have a problem bank that you've been using in your course, you don't want to lose that knowledge, you can still use it and get all the benefits of Compass out of it by uploading it here. That will then be extracted and you can go through and double check that it was extracted correctly. From there, once questions are approved, they go into the approved bucket. You can then create assignments based on these approved questions. And then finally, what sort of analytics do you get out of it? So students get the support of the tutor 24/7. Students will ask questions in any language. They'll get AI graded feedback instantaneously and be able to correct their misconceptions. But then you as a teacher can see those misconceptions here. So this is our gradebook dashboard. And in this case, I have 3 students, so that's not enough data to have a question table, but you can see here the difficult concepts that were identified. So mode calculation as a teacher is something that I would want to go in and review. My 3 students are all just different versions of me, but let's say that I'm a little bit worried about this inactive student, I can go and directly navigate to that student's page, maybe see what they're struggling with. In this case, they have not started any of these concepts and their mastery level is all beginning. Maybe that's a student that I can reach out to directly and give a little bit of a nudge, check in, see how they're doing. We also have an instructor side version of the domain model where they see the overall class's proficiency. So I can see, overall, even though some students have started here, on a whole, the class hasn't started this concept. Whereas for mode, most of the students here are developing. And I can also go ahead and see concept friction. So while most students are developing, a lot of them are getting it correct. So maybe this is one where I just need a bit of a nudge to remind students to do their homework. And then we also have tables to be able to see all of the average AI usage, common questions, concepts that students are stuck with, as well as the individual questions themselves and what students may have had trouble with, along with, of course, full digests of the AI conversations. So I'm going to pass it on, I believe, to David next, John.
Yeah, let's go with that.
All right. And I'm happy to show anything else at the end.
Right. Let me share my screen. Give me a second. Great. So thanks, Portia, and thanks, John. So as mentioned earlier, so we will cover the Vocareum Digital Backpack, which is the unified hub to bring everything together a student needs for coursework and independent projects. One login through your LMS or IDP and you're in. So let me show you how this works for a simple learner. First, what you'll see is a landing page with all the various resources that are available for this given learner. You'll see that we have a series of customized agents over here. some lab environments, and some applications. Okay, so let's look at the domain-specific AI tutor that we've already configured. So you'll notice that it's contextualized. It isn't a generic chat GPT or anything. It's trained on course materials and governed by some institutional policies. So let me paste in a question. How can I visualize 3D data in Python? And I'm asking this to our data science tutor. And so we'll watch what happens here. Give it a second. And so basically the tutor will provide some, maybe some code examples. It'll using libraries like, matplotlib or plotly or seaborn. And then more importantly, down bottom here, it references specific course materials, right? So you'll see citations for, on page 467 and 547. And of course, if we click in, we can actually get to the content as well. And so you'll see visualizing 3D data here. Okay, and similarly, if we go into the civics tutor, and actually I had already pre-prompted it with a question, what are differences between how laws are ratified in US and China? And again, it goes through and provides some cited materials here. And so I think that's the main difference, right? With customized tutors, the AI is anchored to your curriculum, not hallucinating answers. And behind the scenes, administrators can set usage budgets and access controls through our AI gateway, which Mary will cover shortly. So you get the power of LLM with the institutional guardrails. Okay, and so now let's move on to a hands-on example as well for hands-on work. And so I'll launch our VNB, which is the Vocareum Jupyter-style notebook environment. And so you'll notice one click, and it's all browser-based. We're in no installation required. We're inside a Jupyter type of notebook environment here. And so what I'll do is go down to the bottom right here and click to run all the cells, and you'll see, the code executes and the plot renders all inside this browser. Students can work from a Chromebook or a library computer or a tablet. There are no hardware barriers, no software licensing headaches, and it can all happen on personal devices as well. And so what's also powerful here is, as you'll notice that we have session persistence. So what work we did previously, if we come back, it will continue to exist here. Even from a different device, my work is saved and ready to resume. Okay. So as John and Portia mentioned, we do have managed cloud labs as well. And so here we're switching into an AWS environment. Okay, and so we've got a AWS lab that we can go and start. And with one click, I'm launching a pre-configured AWS environment. This could be used for courses that might be teaching cloud computing, data engineering, machine learning, or maybe any sort of student hackathons or just student projects that they might want to participate in. And so I can go, I've already provisioned an environment. Oh, let me sign up the other environment. Let me go and launch the AWS console again. So now I've got an environment, a native AWS environment that has all the relevant guardrails. In the background, we're spinning up some AWS resources, maybe some EC2 or S3 buckets, whatever the student might need. Administrators can define the lab blueprint, which services are available, permissions students might have, and what the budget limits are. Okay, and so students can get hands-on experience with production-grade cloud environments. And without any of the worries about runaway costs and security risks, right? And when the session ends, all the student work can be automatically torn down or paused so that when the learner comes back, they can continue the work again. Okay, and so this approach works for not just AWS, but for Azure, GCP, or any other cloud provider. We'll manage the complexity so the students can focus on the learning. Now let's go back to the backpack here. And we also can launch VS Code environments or Jupyter Labs. Beyond that, we can also provide for courses that may require professional software. We can provide full environments launched on Windows or Linux desktops. And here I'm launching a Ubuntu, which is a Linux desktop. And so they'll be dropped into a powerful desktop that may be running with GPUs or some other resources. And they can launch, the applications that may be pre-installed and licensed. And so this is the Ubuntu environment. And here is a Windows environment that has SPSS and Power BI installed, right? And so here, there's apologies. Oops, that's not. A second here. And so, for example, so now we can launch into Power BI. And so, just a few seconds, you'll have access to complete workspaces with these licensed software, eliminates lab scheduling conflicts, extends access beyond campus hours, and ensures equity. Every student gets exactly the same professional grade tools, right? And of course, the institution manages these licenses centrally and able to track the usage through analytics. And students never have to worry about installing, purchasing, or maintaining software. Okay, and beyond that, everything lives in one place, right? In this digital backpack. AI assistants, code environments, cloud computing, desktop applications, and then also external tools. And so, for example, here we've got access to external tools like a Google Colab, right? And we can authenticate straight into a Google Colab environment here. Alternatively, you can also provide institutional access to ChatGPT directly. Okay, here's the ChatGPT, but it's not the consumer version. We've integrated it as managed service through our backpack. So students have a one click and they're in all through SSO through the backpack. And so, of course, the standard ChatGPT, I could say which universities use Vocareum, let's say. Right. And so pretty straightforward. Again, administrators set the usage policies centrally, including token limits, content filters, data retention rules. Same approach applies to the other SaaS tools like Google Drive or Google Gmail, and we can authenticate into nearly any other application as well. Okay, and so just from single click, it's pretty straightforward. So I'm going to switch over to administrator side here. And so the integration is pretty powerful. We can connect natively to your SSO and SSM or LMS through LTI or through your SIS for automatic roster sync and role-based provisioning. Here we've got a dashboard showing the AWS spend, the number of users, and hours to being kind of employed by the end users. We can go over to the groups and we can manage the usage of the backpack. And this is general digital backpack for all the learners out there in the university. And then we can also have group specific resources available as well. And so, for example, we had engineering work stations with Ubuntu and SPSS available. So in summary, the digital backpack provides students with seamless access to every single tool that they need, course-specific AIs, coding environments, real cloud infrastructure, professional software, as well as managed SaaS platforms. through simple governed profile portal. And for institutions, it basically means it's a centralized management with transparency, equitable access, and actionable data. So that's the digital backpack. And I'll hand it over to Mary next.
David, I'm going to go ahead and share with everyone. And what I'm going to be talking about today is our AI Gateway, which is a flexible central hub for managing your generative AI resources. So Vocareum increasingly is serving as your sort of one-stop shop to connect to different compute resources, as well as GenAI. So you can think of it as a front end that gives your students easy access to GenAI models, both to access through and speak within a chatbot interface, as we're delivering through Backpack, and also in a couple other flexible formats. And also for you to deliver in a coding environment. So both the teaching and learning tools use case, where you're using AI to teach students about any subject, and then also the just academic sort of AI coding that you might be trying to teach, and the resources that you need for that, such as GenAI keys and GPU. So we'll jump in. You might be familiar, one of the things that we do all the time at Vocareum is connect to learning management systems. So this particular integration I'm showing is with Canvas, but this is something that basically all of the major learning management systems provide, is the LTI connection. So it's very easy to drop Vocareum directly into your courses for your students. In this case, we have this showing up in an iframe within the assignment. You can make it an assignment that students submit, or you can have it be an ungraded assignment that they just work on, or embed it within your learning content using a rich text editor. So lots of flexible options. And this is our Vocareum notebook, which is, Portia showed one lab type, and David showed a couple other options. Vocareum notebook is sort of our one of our flagship options for providing students with a really simple coding environment, particularly for Jupyter notebooks. So they provide an easy way to intersperse runnable code blocks with sort of text and questions. So you can drop any kind of files in here and display them. And then within this interface, you can also have an assistant. So in here, the assistant that I have in here today, I have two options for the student. And one is a general sort of GenAI chatbot. Right now it's ChatGPT. But I also have a Python Demo assistant plugged in here, which is an assistant that's been customized for this student for this course. So you can ask the assistant anything, but you can also have it help you out with specific cells. So you can ask to get help, and it has this context of the notebook informant as it provides you with assistance. So this is sort of the teaching and learning tools use case. One of the superpowers that it has that uses retrieval augmented generation is the ability to actually cite its sources. So that's something that AI generally can't do. It can't tell you where it got information. So one of the things that's helpful about the way that we're building the assistants here is that they can actually tell you where they got the information from, point you to maybe the part of your curriculum where you were learning about that. And this applies to coding, but it really applies to any subject. And you can create these by uploading your course content really easily. I'll show that in a little bit. But in this case, we have some Python basics in there. And this student has a budget for their AI usage. And here, if they were doing a use case where they actually were coding with AI and they wanted to call GenAI models in their code, they could do that by opening up this panel and checking out their API base and key. And the way that this is working, actually, you can see that we have a very specific budget here and our usage is being tracked. And this is what's happening is we've connected an external key, and then we're actually using these internal keys. You can see it's prefaced with VOC. And we're using these internal keys that only work with our internal endpoint. And they will stop working when I exceed my budget. And we're collecting the information about each request and then passing it on to, in this case, OpenAI, but whatever AI service you've connected. We're very service agnostic, so things remain really flexible and portable. You're not sort of locked in to one particular model or service. And you can see here I have a number of models, but this is actually a restricted list, right? It's not all of the OpenAI models. I've given a specific subset to this user. So that is another way, like in addition to Compass, that you can bring AI into the classroom. And another thing that you might need if you were working with students who were coding with Gen AI or just with really large data sets, increasingly we're seeing a lot of need for GPU. So this is giving you access to a GPU-backed instance. So it can do both CPU and GPU. You can see that I similarly have a budget here. In this case, it's a number of hours. And I've used 4 hours out of those 15. And so that's being tracked in a way that the student can monitor. Now you can, in both of these cases, you can set a budget threshold per student per assignment. But if a student accidentally goes beyond their threshold, you can adjust it on a case-by-case basis for each individual student without adjusting it for the rest of the class. That kind of thing always happens, with at least one student in a class, so that can be helpful. But we do have a couple other things in place here. This session has a set length. It will expire after a certain amount of time. So if I walked away and forgot to close it down, that would be okay because it would actually end after a couple hours. And you can set how long you want that to be. Although it would end, my files in here would persist and I would be able to come back to them later. It's just that the compute session that is time limited here would end automatically to sort of save me those resources. You can also split it up by month, right? So you can say, don't spend it all in one place. You can only use half of it in the first month of the course, and then, the rest of it in the next month. So in this case, we've run this cell. I ran in advance just to give you a little output there. So it's running a Tesla T4. This code is literally just running to check what kind of GPU we've got backing this. And then also here I have just kind of a little quick check to compare the speed of CPU and GPU. So just a quick example of this running both CPU and GPU and giving you sort of the benefit of the GPU there. Vocareum offers a Tesla T4 instance type, but there's also the option to set up your own sort of custom clusters of servers with whatever kind of compute backing you need. And we're also increasingly working with universities and sort of nationally funded supercompute centers to be able to back these instances with the same front end for students, but with different compute resources. So whether it's CPU or GPU, whether that's coming from AWS or coming from a supercomputer center or coming from your university, sort of decoupling those so that you really have the flexibility as a university to bring or as an organization to bring in the resources that you want and connect them to this easy to use front end. So I will go ahead and close this one out so I don't spend all my GPU money. And then I'll show you a little bit behind the scenes about how this is all set up. So I'm going to jump over to, that was being a student. I was accessing it through Canvas. Now I'm jumping into checking this out as an administrator. And as an administrator, I'm able to actually provide those resources to a course. So the course is one of the sort of conceptual units that we use to give access to users. So we have our administrators, we have our teachers, and we have our students. And as an administrator, I can decide what resources are available to each class. One of those you'll see is GPU. One of those you'll see is GenAI API key generation. And here you can see that I have a specific policy selected in addition to a dollar budget. So there's a bunch of different policies that are available here, and those are all ones that different admins have set up in our organization. So the cost control is really fine-grained here. So as an administrator, I can come in here and check out my spend across my whole organization. I can see how it splits up between different courses and groups and over time. And then I can also, I can check it out by spend, I can check it out by tokens, I can check it out by number of requests, and then I can also see it by specific key. And I can even break it down by individual users' keys within an assignment within a course. So there's a lot of sort of fine-grained information here. And then the way that we're connecting this in here is through the services. As I mentioned, we are sort of service agnostic. You can have OpenAI, Azure, Llama, bring your own sort of custom instance or custom implementation where you're serving an API endpoint for GenAI. And in that case, you just let us know what the models are and sort of define the token cost for that and give us your custom URL. But for something that's a predefined service, it's even simpler. You just give us your API key, identify it, and enter a max budget. So the budgets are happening at the organizational level. You have the maximum for that key. They're happening at the course level. You have the maximum for that course, and then they're happening at the student assignment level. So the maximum that student can spend in that assignment. And then you saw that I didn't assign a service to the course. I actually assigned a policy. So the policies are a way that we can actually go ahead and assign specific services and specific models to a class. So I could, for example, here give just a GPT-4 model. Or I could actually add another service and I could, give a model from, in this case, this is Azure OpenAI, but let's actually try Claude, right? Let's get a really different service in there. So we'll use Claude. And then you can see I can also get like Claude 3 Sonnet in here. So I can give students access to, or users, researchers, faculty, staff, whoever you need to, I can give them access to, a specific subset of models. So that's where the policies come in. And then I can also give access to groups. So David just showed digital backpack, and this is where the sort of resource allocation for digital backpack can happen is via groups. So very similar to courses, but instead of being broken up by assignment, we're just looking at, giving individuals access to resources outside of the context of a course. So that just adds a little bit of flexibility to how you might use this, and to grant any kind of environment to any group of users. And in here, I can actually check out, I'm going to pull up a specific user. I'm going to switch over to being a teacher here. And as a teacher, you'll see, as an admin, I had a bunch of options in here. As a teacher, I can only see my keys. And here you can see I actually have a key through that digital backpack. And I have this OpenAI key here with a specific budget and spend. Using that, I'm able to go into our AI studio and actually build assistants. So this is this one is actually the one that was associated with that course. You can see that I have a knowledge base. This one just has one file, but you can upload any number of files. You can upload the entire contents of a Canvas course in here. We definitely have folks doing that. And then you can give it a prompt context. You can configure it to allow it to link sources, which is a feature that I showed you, allow users to attach files. You can restrict sources so that it can only use the sources in the knowledge base and nothing from outside in the model. And you can adjust the temperature. So there's a lot of fine-grained control in here. And then you're able to share it with whatever courses you want to have access to it. And that is just like kind of a quick run through of some of how the Gen AI Gateway can support really a whole range of use cases for providing resources for AI teaching, learning, and AI engineering.